The 4080 and the 7900 XTX are capable 4K GPUs, but even those need upscaling in some games to deliver an above 60 FPS experience. So let's see how the 4070 Super and the 7800 XT do at 4K in games. Let's start with Assassin's Creed Mirage. These are the settings used to run the internal benchmark 3 times, and based on those runs I calculated the averages and displayed them in the side-by-side comparison. Both GPUs deliver averages above 60 FPS, but the 7800 XT sometimes dips below 40 FPS. The 4070 Super takes the lead with averages of 101 frames per second and 1% lows just above 60, 62 to be more precise, while the 7800 XT averaged around 70 frames per second and 38 when it comes to the 1% lows. While playing a bit the game, I observed that 12 GB are enough for 4K. When it comes to ray tracing games, the situation flips in Lords of the Fallen, with both cards delivering averages just above the 30 FPS mark. The 4070 Super averaged 36 with 31% lows, while the 7800 XT averaged 31 with 26.6 1% lows. Clearly, upscaling is needed in this game, so let's set it to balanced. With upscaling set to balanced, in this area, a not so demanding one, both GPUs managed to deliver averages above the 60 FPS mark, with the 4070 Super taking the lead, averaging at 85.4, while the AMD card managed only 73.3. The 1% lows sit close to the 60 mark, but the Nvidia card bested the AMD one with 64 compared to 58. In Ghostwire Tokyo, with RT, we see the same behavior as in Lords of the Fallen. These cards are not capable of max settings without upscaling. We get a console-like experience. First, let me start by saying that even though the frame time looks odd for the 4070 Super, I had no issues or felt the game misbehaving on the Nvidia GPU. It leads with averages of 80.4 and 1% lows of 43.9, while the 7800 XT is bested again, delivering averages of 56.6 and 1% lows of 30.7. Let's try one more time in Star Wars Jedi Survivor to max out everything, including ray tracing and no upscaling. Looking at the results on the screen, we can see that both cards are not capable to deliver a good experience in this game, as the frame rate is too low, and to be honest, this should be no surprise. Upscaling is needed at 4K and at this price range, so let's set it to balance and see the results. Now, the 7800 XT sits just below the 60 FPS mark when it comes to the averages, delivering 58.3 and 47.9 when it comes to the 1% lows, while the 4070 Super averaged 70.7 and 50.4 when it comes to the 1% lows. This game has come a long way since its release, but it still needs some tweaking from the developers. Let's move to a game that doesn't use RT. That is Total War Pharaoh. In this game, both cards sit below the 30 FPS mark. This means that it's not playable with the settings used, or to be more precise, the experience is not great. That said, the 4070 Super leads, but settings need to be lowered on both cards to achieve good results. This game is in dire need of some optimization, as the 4080 or the 7900 XTX just manages to sit above the 30 FPS mark. Alan Wake 2, the game that brings to its knees every GPU of this generation when maxed out. With path tracing set to low and upscaling set to balanced, the 4070 Super leads, delivering averages of 31.1 and 1% lows of 28, while the 7800 XT managed only 24.6 and 16.2 1% lows. Lowering some settings is a must, as the 7800 XT doesn't have the power and the 4070 Super lacks the power and the Vram as well. There are more demanding areas in this game, like the woods, and in those expect even lower frame rates. In Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, another ray tracing game, I use frame generation and upscaling set to quality for the comparison, as the game is very demanding. The 4070 Super leads yet again, managing to deliver averages of 81.7 and 1% lows of 58.4 compared to 69.1 and 52.4 for the 7800 XT. Frame generation is a must coupled with upscaling in this game at 4K for these GPUs, as without the 4070 Super averaged 27.2, and this is unacceptable for a first-person view game. And I think this is all that is needed to make a clear picture about these GPU's 4K capabilities. The 4070 Super leads in performance as well as in price, but both need upscaling and or lowering settings to achieve at least 60 FPS in most games, at least in the latest releases. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The 12GB VRAM buffer of the 4070 Super, as the 7800 XT has 16. First, let me say, the more the better. Some settings may add 1GB of VRAM when turning it up a notch, as you can see on the screen, but the performance decrease can be minimal. The same can be said about turning it up, that the visual improvement may not be noticeable. You pick whichever version suits you best. The fact is that Nvidia released a 12GB GPU in 2024, and we have a 4060 Ti with 16GB available for some time. Now, to be honest, in most games you will need to turn down some settings or use upscaling, which helps to lower the VRAM needed. I played a bit this weekend to see how it behaves at 4K, and I didn't have issues, albeit I used upscaling to reach the desired frame rate, as you can see on the screen. As benchmarks are short and don't tell the whole picture, at least when it comes to VRAM, I played a bit Avatar with upscaling and frame generation, and I saw that MSI Afterburner reported that the game is above 11GB of VRAM in some scenarios, but no issues. Everything worked properly. This doesn't mean that all is good. It means that I didn't encounter them in my playthrough. I tried as well an older game, Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that doesn't need upscaling to achieve good frame rates at 4K, and here the memory reported by MSI Afterburner never reached 12GB or even came close. I'm curious, let me know in the comments below, do you guys try to play with the best settings that you can get with your card at acceptable frame rates, or prioritize high frame rates? Now, the issue is that new releases will be unoptimized, no doubt about it, and with 12GB, even at 1440p with max settings, as the 4070 Super may be able to push acceptable frame rates, we may have issues. Just look at what happened with 8GB cards in Hogwarts Legacy, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, or The Last of Us, if not now, for sure down the road. To top that, you have games like Alan Wake or Ratchet & Clank that use a lot of VRAM when maxed out, so tweaking may be needed. To summarize everything in this video, the 4070 Super is a great card that may need in-game tweaking due to the lack of game optimization on release date or heavy visuals that need a lot of VRAM, while the RX 7800 XT has only performance to worry about. If you found the video helpful, drop a comment below, hit the thumbs up button, and I hope to see you all in the next one.